Fighting.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, and we're a little bit late to the party. The main reason why is because some of us are old and have to nap a lot. It's true.
But also, here's the thing: some of us have just not been excited about this season. Period.
True.
So I only just caught up on all 3 episodes last night.
We call that the Andor knock-on effect, but we'll be talking about, again, Mandalorian Season 3. We've got Tony, we've got Kerry, we've got Jay, we've got Rebecca, and, of course, myself. I'll try to lead us through this, but I'm going to give a slight disclaimer. As the universe's most excited and happy Star Wars boy, I'm not happy.
What a surprise.
I'm not happy, but, I'm also not upset, so that's okay. It's Star Wars. It's a nice, warm, fluffy blanket, and sometimes we really need that. Let's start with Episode 1, as I like to call it, a series of takeoffs and landings.
Literally, that's like all it was, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had that little crocker turtle dillo thing in the beginning.
It's fantastic. So you had your good
description.
You had your good old time Mandalorian riverfront baptism going on, and then a Turca Crocodillo shows up and starts eating all the Mandos.
I was hoping this was going to be a flashback to when Mando got his stuff, but
I think they were alluding to that.
I thought
they got me. They got me, and then Deus Ex Dinjarin, and he swoops in.
This episode is important for 2 reasons. One, you got more. Well, not Babu Frick, but certainly the alien that is Babu Frick, who is the true hero of the Star Wars universe.
Yep.
But also the redemption of R5D4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he got redeemed at all. Tony,
shush, children, shush, children, shush. Just for a moment.
He failed,
and then I'll let you run away with stuff again. No, shush, children, shush. Let me tell you something that you will not understand because you were not alive in 1977 when your grandma went to Walgreens to get you a Star War, and she didn't know what the hell an R2-D2 was, so she got you an R5-D4. So you know what you did? You made R5-D4 the star of everything, even though in the movie he just blows up and explodes and falls over, and nobody wants him. He is literally every kid on visitation weekend when their dad didn't show up. That's R5-D4.
Whoa.
Man.
Exactly.
What just happened?
Exactly. Wow. Now, here's the thing. Without R5-D4, none of the Star Wars movie happens. Think about it.
Nothing.
None of it happens. There are theories that he self-destructed himself.
He's like, well, I do have a bad motivator.
An unalive bot?
I don't believe that myself. I think that it was just complete luck, the galaxy, the Force, whatever you want to call it, that made his motivator explode.
Or R2
unalive
did it.
himself? I don't like that.
Yeah.
Wild.
So seeing her say, take R5-D4, he's the hero you need.
Yes.
That's a diss. That's a burn. And she hates him.
I gotta say though, seeing Grief Karga, shout out to Carl Weathers, High Magistrate, who was very he made sure to let y'all know.
Has his little cape carried by droids.
Droids, yep. But he also keeps that thing on him. He still got the blaster in the tuck. I love it.
He had a whole. It was a whole James Brown vibe that I loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also got something that we have not actually seen in Star Wars ever, even though we've heard people referred to as space pirates. Actual extras from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland broke out, put on Star Wars masks, and infiltrated the set of The Mandalorian Season 3.
Yes.
They definitely upped the budget this year on weird little guys.
Yes, for sure. And boy, oh boy, I mean, the whole reason why Mando goes to Grief Karga Planet is to go get IG-11.
No, Grief Karga Planet is Navarro because I always think, like Dave Navarro?
Dave Navarro. It's the horniest planet in the system.
No, my wife said the Navarro, the cheerleading high school in Texas that were from Netflix's cheer. That's what hand to God, that's what she said.
I believe it.
What I love is that they took IG-11 and they made a statue of him because he's the hero of Jamestown.
Yeah.
It's
The
pretty
hero
macabre.
of Canton.
It's pretty macabre. The statue of him is him.
Is him.
Right.
Okay.
That'd be like if I saved a busload of burning cheerleaders and they made a statue out of my dead meat.
Out of your corpse. Yes, exactly.
Just properly up in the corner. Everybody
Hey,
will say,
welcome to the Catholic Church.
Which
okay?
brings, this brings it around. Like, okay, droids are a form of artificial intelligence until I'm proven otherwise in the Star Wars universe. But they are not considered equal citizens by any stretch.
I'm going to go ahead and just wiggle over to episode 3 for a split second. I think part of the reason why I had such an issue is because that guy never said thanks to a droid. Anyway, back to episode 1.
Gotta say thank you to your Google Homes, your Alexas, your Siris. We're not getting caught up in the AI wars.
I'm waiting for a Star Wars story about an AI, a droid that uprises and tries to, carve out his niche in the galaxy, because
R2.
that possibility is right there.
It's right there.
Rewatch all the Star Wars movies. Rewatch them all, but from R2's point of view.
Yeah.
He's just going around helping these idiots make sure everything moves.
Yeah.
Well, we did have that the droid's rights activist in Solo that ended up having her brain removed and attached to the Millennium Falcon.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But also explains why she hates C-3PO so much.
I mean, have you met him?
Sassy robot. Oh, yeah. Anyway,
We all hate
so while they're on planet Navarro trying to fix IG-11, he's just like, hey, you know what? We can't fix him, but we got these Babu Fricks over here living in a wall. Why don't you go talk to these Babu Fricks?
Why do they need the IG-11?
Because he's capable of spelunking.
Right, and
That's it?
Yeah.
He's a droid. Well, they say that Mandalore is cursed, and the atmosphere is unbreathable, so it's probably...
But the mines.
Gotta send something disposable down there like a hero, right?
Like
so
R5D4.
Again, the hero of Star Wars.
As soon as he gets off camera, he disappears.
But there's one thing.
he's gone.
One thing we learned from Fraggle. One thing we learned from Fraggle Rock. If there's a weird looking thing, it's in a wall. So the Babu Fricks live in a wall. Where Mando goes in the wall.
I love that he goes in and just sits there.
Yeah, he's just sitting there, and Grogu wants to hug the little Babu Fricks, but they keep screaming.
Who's among us wouldn't hold a little Babu Frick that way?
We know that hug was going to lead to consumption. He was going to eat him. Just like
consumption
the frogs,
of more
like
toys.
Also led to one of my favorite phrases of all time, which is "bad baby." So if you ever really just smack something and yell "bad baby," anybody who's seen this episode knows. So then they get there's space pirates out in the streets of Navarro. They have a gunfight, but then they let the one guy go, and he's like, "I'm going to go tell Daddy Pirate," and then they have a showdown with some pirates, and then Din Djarin's like, I gotta go see Bo-Katan, and she's like all Conan the King, sitting on her throne with her helmet looking disaffected.
Uncomfortably. Like, that can't be comfortable.
They're wearing armor and sitting on thrones.
This is as comfy as it's gonna get.
Right.
Yeah. Comfort is second priority.
Man, did her castle look cool.
Yeah, I was just like, where's the rooms? Where's the bathroom? It's just... But
because it did look like she was just sleeping there.
Well, it didn't even look like there was anyone else there besides her and some droids.
Well, we learned in a later episode that they're fully aware when someone shows up, so she was obviously posed there waiting to receive Din Djarin.
Right.
What's my most badass
Din's here?
pose?
Din's here? Okay, hold on. Don't let him in yet. Okay.
Let me look ominous.
Where's my leg hoisting droid?
I just yelled at the screen. Excuse me, I'm brooding.
Yeah.
But
great though, respectfully.
I was going to say you had the answer to my dreams. It was Katie Sackhoff in a Boba Fett outfit. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm there.
But I'm also glad we
Not
finally
much
got.
to complain about.
I'm also glad we finally got the Snyder cut of anything Mandalorian. Brooding. So finally,
that's a good piece of property though. You got
yeah. Oh, it's
she's got a
beachfront.
great piece.
It's beachfront.
The drawback joke for Rebecca. The drawback is the comps. It's
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So then he flies off to Tatooine. I can't remember her name, but she's definitely a Jawa enthusiast.
Amy Sedaris.
Amy Sedaris.
I just call her Amy Sedaris. Yeah.
Well, I don't know her character's name is Maz, whatever. Anyway, so
Amy Sedaris playing my Nana. She's got the hair down and everything.
Was she missing a tooth too?
She does the best Jawa voice ever, though. I swear to
Again,
God,
I was happy. I got Jawas, so I was happy. You know.
Yeah,
I like the first 2 episodes as a whole.
Oh, sure. They're a blast. They're a lot of fun. And that grift she had going on, I mean, for one, it's a shout-out to episode 1. It's Bantu Eve. They're getting ready for the great pod race, and she and her Jawa friends are stripping down ships so they can hustle people and stuff.
Isn't that the same grift that we saw the Jawas doing in Obi-Wan? Weren't they doing the same thing?
Yep.
Jawas be grifting.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Oh, they're amazing.
That's a good grift, too. I was like,
Jawas
genius.
So Din basically says, I need a ship that can go, and I need a droid that can go to go down to the radiated hellscape that is Mandalore. And she's like, take the hero you deserve, R5D4. And he's like, finally, you actually hear him pulling the Sword of Destiny out of his memory chips because, damn it, he's there. He's there to lead the way and show everybody that he is the droid that you deserve, even though your grandma thought he was an R2-D2 and got him by mistake.
He's a
Neil
trash
fell
can.
down like twice.
Trash can with wheels.
Grandma
we also
said.
get Grogu's first word.
Yep.
The second Grogu starts to speak English, I'm done.
I must have missed it. What did he say?
Yeah, what was his word?
I don't know. He just said He said, but Amy Sedaris was really excited. She's like, "Oh, is that his first word? It's
like Bagluber or something."
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been Jawa for all we know.
I'm telling you, the second Grogu learns to speak, it's over for me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back to Grandma buying your R5D4. To be fair to Grandma, there were at least 100 of them on the shelf. Anyway.
How is she supposed to know?
Right, and she's just looking at it, she's going, is it the red one or the blue one? Which does this kid like so much?
There are a bunch of these red ones.
Right. Obviously the popular one because they made so many.
Yes,
Clearly.
exactly.
I would say now you have an opportunity to be that grandparent you wish you had. However.
So Din Djarin loads the Droid of Destiny up in the Naboo starfighter that they converted, and they take off. It's the second episode, which I call Yeehaw! Episode 2.
Yeehaw!
It was definitely Yeehaw, because they go to Mandalore.
I call it That's a Spicy Volume.
They fight the abominable snowman from the Matterhorn ride at Disneyland. They fight like him and his family.
Like 5 of them.
Yeah, because they live there now. Right?
We find out that Mandalore is not poisoned. It's not cursed. It's been abandoned.
And you also... Go ahead, Kerry. Sorry.
No, I was going to say then there are these robot / biological creature down there that needed Mando's blood
I kept thinking
to live.
of the bug from Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what that thing was all about, I have no idea, but it was pure nightmare fuel because it had its giant buggy eye on the projector screen.
Loved it.
So,
I did like its whole vibe, its whole deal.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun.
We had a great bit. I mean, where Din Djarin's like, okay, we're going to send R5D4 down there, and then after R5's not back for a minute, Grogu's like, that's our buddy, the hero that we deserve. We need to go get him. And he gets in there and he gets his butt kicked by the abominable snowman but he kills them all. And then he finds R5D4 and brings him back. And they're like, okay, now we're going to go down and explore this stuff. And things are not good down in the bowels of Mandalore. And if you were a fan of the Rebels cartoons or the Clone Wars cartoons, a lot of the stuff from those cartoons is down here. The Civic Center, all the stuff is down here in this tectonically devastated place. Tony.
Now, it was going through that city that I realized, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to realize this. I tweeted about it, though. Mandalorians are Star Wars dwarves. They're amazing at metalwork. They mine into their planet to the point where their cities descend deep into the bowels of it. Ferocious warriors. They always keep their face covered. Dwarves have beards that they never shave. The helmet of the Mandalorian. No, it's legitimate. Mandalorians are the fantasy dwarves of Star Wars.
Thank you.
Give me a louder thank you. Give me a louder thank you. Come on now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I thought it was. I loved everything that was happening here.
Yeah,
I
I really
loved it
enjoyed
all. And
episode
then when Bo-Katan comes, they go. Well, Grogu has to go and get.
Din Djarin gets caught, and he's like, "Grogu, go get our friend Bo-Katan." Grogu's like, "Okay,
alrighty."
And then he kicks an abominable snowman out of a mountain. That was cool. Just
with the Force.
I like how they set up that shot.
There's something that they do with this episode that I love, because if you didn't watch Rebels, you don't know the whole backstory of how Bo-Katan had actually had the Darksaber and was illegitimately the ruler of the Mandalorians for a brief period of time.
Yes.
When she has the Darksaber and she's fighting the Nightmare Mecha Lizard down there, she has no trouble with that sword.
Yeah,
she's
that's a question I had, because Din Djarin tries to use it earlier in the episode,
but he's fighting it.
Can barely lift it.
And she's had it before. She's had it before.
She's
had practice.
Yeah.
And she probably trained, and she probably learned not to fight the saber, because that's the thing with lightsabers.
Yeah.
If you fight them, they'll not flow with you. Yeah, they'll fight back with you. So
Now, so the big discussion about this whole Bo-Katan going down to Mandalore and under the water, the mythosaur.
Because Din, the Mary Sue of the Mandalorian, he had he goes, he's like, I'm gonna get in the waters and be reborn, and then he immediately gets dragged down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Now, my question for y'all is, did he see the mythosaur and is pretending like he didn't?
Now, wait a minute.
Or did he, in fact, not see the mythosaur?
What is a mythosaur?
Yeah, what's the big deal with this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
This goes back to the Dark Horse Comics days of the Mandalorian comics. Mandalore the Great defeated and rode a mythosaur. It's like a city's-sized dragon that Mandalore the Great would ride into battle with his allies, the Jedi.
And if you look at Boba Fett's armor, he's got the mythosaur skull on his shoulder, on his armor, and that's
is that their whole thing?
That's their whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot. I mean, the whole
here's the
whole
thing. Well, with Bo-Katan, she didn't believe in the legend.
No, she's a disillusioned princess. This is her birthright. She doesn't believe in any of this because she was part of the Creed, she was part of the royal family, and it was all just garbage that was blown apart by the Empire. So I don't think he saw the mythosaur. I think he was out cold.
Okay.
But she did, right?
She saw the mythosaur.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she for sure saw it.
So her mind's kind of blown now, because she's like, I thought all this stuff was bull, and it's real, maybe.
She's the knight of Camelot who's accompanying Percival, the perfect fool, who everything happens for and doesn't actually earn any of it. And then this knight all of a sudden says, I believe in the Grail quest again. I believe in all of this. And that's how we get into Episode 3, which is...
I gotta say something about these two episodes really quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say the whole ending of the last season of The Mandalorian, like the whole deal about this was Din Djarin was no longer Mandalorian, and he had to go, and the whole
to the Creed, to the religious fanatics,
to the Creed, and the whole thing was no Mandalore, you cannot, big no, you cannot go there. It's burnt to the ground, and it's not. And this whole thing just gets wrapped up in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
But it's bigger fish to fry. But it's not.
What fish?
I'm just saying.
I thought that was the fish.
No, there's more fish.
I'm sorry. Like, the fact that you could do all this interstellar travel. We got dark sabers. We got lightsabers. You just can't take a selfie at the Living Waters thing, and you got to inject yourself in this whole mythosaur Dasani. This shit is...
Jay raises a really good question, and I think I might have an answer for it. We see in our own world, as technology advances, it advances in a way that is most profitable and that people will use the most. And in the Star Wars universe, that technology was pushed in the direction of interstellar travel, droids, and things like that. And I just think they didn't have social media. And so there's no use for selfies.
That's why they were so successful as a society.
Exactly. They didn't have social. That's what I'm getting at.
You've got to get Sheev social. It's a different thing. But see, what you're talking about, Jay, though, is the selfie won't cut it. We're talking about religion.
Oh, that's another good point too. Yeah.
And that's
so he he brought a sample of the living waters back to the armorer that she was able to
analyze. And it does magic. It does magic
Yeah.
to whatever the little pool it gets dropped into.
Because Lasagna's trash.
The thing that a lot of people are, I've heard some people saying, well, why didn't the Mandalorians go back and explore Mandalore if this is their, especially the living waters in the catacombs? Well, so the stuff that their armor is made of, the
Beskar.
The Beskar is the only thing that will deflect a lightsaber, okay? So for the Empire, that's why they wanted Mandalore. They wanted to strip mine all of the Beskar out of Mandalore. So when you get to a point where you've made it so unstable you can't be there anymore, and you know the religious fanatics are going to come back for their holy ground, you tell them it's irradiated. You use the power of your media, your social media, your propaganda machine to basically say, this is useless to you, you can't go back. And they show that again in Rebels. And Rebels is like 50-50 throwaway show, must-see Star Wars, where they talk about how certain families, especially the Vizsla family and Gar Saxon's family, said, we can't let the traditionalists and the fundamentalists run anything anymore. The future is Sheev Palpatine and the Empire. So there's still all of that going on. That's literally what Bo-Katan's family was doing, was leading a rebellion of their own against the Empire. But they wouldn't join the rebellion.
Boy, that went well, didn't it?
Yeah, it went really, really well. So, yeah, episode 3, they're trying to fly back to Bo's magical castle, and TIE interceptors show up. Oh my God,
so cool.
So amazing.
That was great.
And
that was really cool.
Din's like, hey, drop me off 100 feet over my ship so I can come along for the fun. And you get spaceship battles and cool stuff in canyons, and I'm like, This is Star Wars.
That's a spicy Star Wars.
It was.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And then it wasn't.
I mean, I don't regret it, because any time with Star Wars is a good time for Star Wars for me. But yeah, the pace, the tonal pace of it was like watching a Fast and the Furious movie and then cutting to Remains of the Day.
It just felt like a Kroger brand Andor, and.
Which is funny because it was made by the same people that made Andor.
Yeah, I know. It's all PNG. But like the writing was just almost there. Like everything was like almost good.
No. I disagree, because this episode gave us the writing was. I disagree, because this gave us the best line of the whole episode. Those mud scuffers bombed my home. Which is like mud scuffers. That is, I'm using that in the office.
I don't have an issue with. I've had people like slamming the actors that were on the Coruscant scenes. I've had people slamming a lot of stuff. The directing, it's all down to editing. It's literally down to editing. This episode is actually really quite good, but the editing and the pacing, it's just like you literally start off with spaceship race, boo, 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 and then. Now here's your political drama.
When our clone doctor comes into the courtyard and like he meets his new friends and they're like, oh, talking about the good old days, I was like, I see it, I see what they're doing, but I just wish there was a little bit more intrigue.
Carrie,
Tony,
you go first.
I was going to say, the reason that it was paced this way is it has to convey the feeling of that drudgery, that day to day. These guys used to be adventurers. They used to be stormtroopers. They
took an arrow to the knee.
They took the arrow to the knee.
Nice reference.
And so now you're in this. The rebellion. The rebellion has taken over Coruscant. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's like I told you before.
Same as it ever was. Yeah. No, that part was great.
It's the drudgery of not being in the Empire anymore. Yeah. It's you wanted to convey that emotion that they're part of the cogs in the whole machine now.
One of the most amazing things I think they did is they're showing Coruscant, which is amazing because we've seen Coruscant in the prequels, and the Coruscant is very Art Deco 1950s, and this Coruscant felt like downtown Disney.
Neon, lots of parties going on, people wandering around.
The taxi droid just listing off advertisements.
Yeah.
So you have to convey that. The rebellion owns Coruscant now. It's different, but is it?
My biggest problem with the episode, and I think this would have helped the pacing perhaps, is they needed to give me a reason why I care about this doctor. Becoming involved in his genetics research again.
Because we already don't kind of care.
Yeah, we
I'll tell you why
reason.
you care. I'll tell you why you care. They just didn't do it very elegantly. Is that who out there in Star Wars canon? This is a two-pronged question. Who out there in Star Wars canon is going to be the most interested in cloning technology? And who out there as a major media corporation wants to fix a glaring mistake they made with a movie?
This is leading up to Palpatine's cloning. This is where we're headed.
Yeah.
This guy knows. This guy has all of the cloning technology in his brain. He's figured out how it all works, and he has sympathies towards the New Republic. You need to remove him because if you move forward with the cloning program, he's going to be a whistleblower on the whole thing, and they know it. So they have to eliminate him. And Disney desperately wants to fix Palpatine Returns.
Yeah.
Because
somehow
they've done this so many ways. They've done this with Avengers, with all of the Phase 4 or Phase 3 Marvel movies, fixing Age of Ultron.
I just wish they would have given me a clear indication of that in the episode somehow.
Well, they kind of do because they're like, because of this amazing technology, we've been able to cure diseases.
Yes.
Like there is a benefit for the good of humanity.
Yeah, but I just don't
only
buy
so
it
briefly did they touch on it.
And I don't buy it that doctor, that's his actual motivations. I don't buy that,
he's getting psychiatric evaluations from a bot.
He
well, you have to for the amnesty program.
He in his heart, I think he realizes I want to be a good guy. I do. But his partner.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what I kept thinking a lot during this episode? This is what the German doctors did in Argentina.
Yep.
That's the vibe I was getting during this whole episode.
It's also the German rocket scientists that
came
brought
to the United
here.
States.
We gave them amnesty and said, build us bombs.
Yep.
That's exactly what they're aping for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, what if instead? I mean, where does it all start and where does it all begin? But like, instead of American government hiring these German scientists, what if just different Nazis got a hold of them?
Well, it's the American government, but there are Nazis hidden in the American government, and that's who that woman was.
Hail Hydra. The Chuck Wendig books, the Aftermath books, get into it quite a bit with the fact that the New Republic is not set up on Coruscant by the time of the sequel movies, the Rey movies. They're on Hosian Prime because you just can't govern a city of 100 billion or a city world of 100 billion people. It's impossible to do, and the corruption and the gangs and everything else is there. Like the Hutts still have part of Coruscant under control. So
I think one of the coolest scenes, speaking of Coruscant, in that episode, felt movie long, was how they showed how this is the peak of the tallest mountain on Coruscant.
That was insane.
I was blown away by that.
Yeah, the only bit of land that you can still see on the planet. It's like, whoa.
That was insane.
That was cool.
That was a cool detail.
Blown away. I was like, wait, what? Like, I had to rewind that.
Isn't it funny how, in hindsight, the people who have detractions against this episode are still gushing about it?
Listen.
Me.
Listen. I'll say it. I'm a S word for Star Wars, and I still just like I like Star Wars. Star Wars can be better.
I mean,
it can be better. It can be better. The whole time when we get into Dr. Pershing, I'm thinking Inglourious Bastards. I'm like, no, once a Nazi, you're always a Nazi. And then like that scene where they're in like the little courtyard, he's like, hey, have a drink with us. All of a sudden, I was like, oh no, like I kind of get it, because if it reminded me of going on a deployment, and then now you're in garrison. Like now, obviously, I don't need an amnesty program, but like in a way, for a second, I was like, am I sympathizing with them because I know what it's like to be deployed, and then be this adventurer, and
That's the great thing about this storytelling is that you're like, this is a bad guy, but I feel for him.
Right. Well, in 30 seconds, I was like, screw this guy. Once a space Nazi, I was like, no. And then I was like, oh, I kind of get this. Oh, he misses biscuits. I get that, dude. I get that.
And they do some really interesting things too, because the New Republic is supposed to be all enlightened and progressive, and this is neoliberalism here at its greatest, right? And yet everybody in the amnesty program is referred to by numbers, and so they.
Not
I
names.
did notice that. Yeah.
I noticed that too. And I was like, what?
It's like, yeah, so you're always going to be G17745.
Well, and you're being interviewed by you're being interviewed about your own psychological health and welfare by a droid.
That was so.
Like, there's not even.
It was
not
Blade
even a
Runner.
human
It was
connection.
Brazil.
Yeah.
It was all of those things.
There was
So
a lot of good in this episode. I just don't
here's my
think it
amazing-
was presented in an entertaining way.
I'm on my couch like, you're not Andor. You could never be Andor. You can't even try to be Andor.
As a backseat editor, I mean, there were a lot of people that were screaming about Book of Boba Fett because for 3 episodes it was all about Din Djarin, and they're like, you need Din Djarin to come in and save Book of Boba Fett. Well, no, what happened here is literally a pacing issue, because what we have is 2 episodes being crammed into 1 episode together.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough Mandalorian content, because they bookended this whole thing with Din Djarin and Bo-Katan going back to the creche with the rest of the Mandalorians, and them basically saying, oh, guess what? You bathed in the living waters. We believe you now. And everybody except for the Vizsla Mando is going, oh yeah, you're part of us now. Even Bo-Katan is told, you bathed in the living waters. You've been absolved. You are one of us now. And
they are like, did you remove your helmet? And she's like, no, I guess I didn't.
No. And she saw the damn mythosaur. The Grail quest is starting to click with her. And boy, oh boy, maybe that's going to come together. So you have these 3 disparate elements: this awesome, huge Star Wars opening, this incredible myth ending, and this middle part, which should have been 2 episodes. You had the Mando parts could have been its own episode, but it would have been 12 to 13 minutes long, and they couldn't go that, so they fill it with this actually very compelling episode that would have stood okay, I think, on its own. But they were afraid to take Din Djarin out of the episode because people would have screamed and yelled about it. So that's how I feel about it.
Too, people are banned from using the term bottle episode until they actually learn what it means. Because I've seen a lot of commentary on the internet about how this was a bottle episode, and I'm like, you don't know the meaning of the word.
This was definitely not a bottle episode. This, as it is, without knowing what's going to happen later in the season, it definitely felt like a filler episode.
Well, but that's storytelling, right?
It was that's
the end of this episode.
Exactly. You don't know what
exposition in a huge way.
You don't know what a filler episode is until you know how the entire story is going to play out.
Yeah.
So.
I'm taking away your criticism keyboard until you learn what words mean.
Honestly, folks, if you are watching an episode of a show and it has new sets, new characters, and anything else, it is not a bottle show. Stop referring to it as such.
And I would
That's
also
the exact opposite of a bottle episode.
Yeah. I would also say to detractors of this episode, now that you've heard us kind of go into it a bit, go back and watch it again.
No.
Yeah. No, I honestly think, again, I think if you were able to separate those Mandalorian myth-building segments from this very deep psychological thriller element, it would, again, okay, 3 Days of the Condor, Kerry. Robert Redford, 3 Days of the Condor.
Yes.
What if that was bookended by a Fast and the Furious movie? That's kind of how this felt.
But
right?
again, you're spoon feeding the Mandalorian audience, because you're going to get your Mando, you're going to get Grogu, everything's going to be fine. But take a look at this really cool thing over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for a bit.
Also, don't forget, evil still exists.
Evil still exists.
It doesn't matter how you dress in candy coat bureaucracy, it's still bureaucracy. So anyway, that's your first 3 episodes of Mando Season 3. It's one of those things where I kind of don't know where they're going. Like, there's a lot of us that think that Din Djarin's going to end this on the throne of Mandalore, and I really don't think it's going to be quite that simple.
I think he would give it back to Bo-Katan. I think Bo-Katan's coming out on top.
I think
but
so
she
too.
has to win it in trial.
Yeah, something's going to happen that's going to pit them against each other.
Even if she doesn't win the Darksaber or whatever, the Return of Mandalore, she get her homeland back.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Not much.
And then what happens? The rich and
not much, but it's
entitled come
something.
out on top again.
Yeah. I will say, like, when she was going off about, like, I used to be so powerful. Like, I was just like,
this was my family's place.
And I was just like, ugh. Like, at that moment, I was like, I'm not rooting for you anymore.
Well, that's another one of my friends when we were talking about this episode too. He brought up a point. Are we rooting for someone to become part of a cult again?
Right.
Again.
She wasn't okay.
They got out of the cult, and now they're getting back. Are we rooting for reintegration into a cult?
We're talking about Bo-Katan, who was, I mean, she had her redemption arc in Clone Wars. She was a villain. She was with the Saxons and the Vizslas. She was part of the rebel faction that was rebelling against Satine, who was the democratically elected government of Mandalore, and she was actively trying to overthrow that until Satine gets killed. She's a bad guy. And then she's like, oh, okay, well, this is bad. We're actually killing our own people for this. Then she becomes a sympathetic character. And even in Rebels, she's doing her own thing. She's very much her own person. So, no, she's not terribly sympathetic. She's a rich person with a mission.
Yeah.
So
I don't
How
like
to be
her.
a rich person with a mission.
Right?
I just want to remind all you Star Wars fans, it's inherently political. Don't
It has been since the beginning.
It has been since day one.
I've enjoyed episode 3 talking about it right here with you guys more than I enjoyed it when I watched it. That's for sure.
I know, but go back and watch it again.
It's
No,
like
I'm not
it's
gonna
like
do
it's like discussing a meal where they should have gone with truffle oil. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, baby, every time go with truffle oil.
Always. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll have more. Keep listening. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Writing.